Oh, hello, and welcome back to the cooking. And today I thought we would do something very ghoulish. So what we'll be cooking today is what's called a goulash, and I'd never heard of it until I did the first microwave cookbook episode, but upon seeing it I was like, man, this seems interesting. I haven't cooked it before. It's something new, something unique. So, but then I saw like the recipe, and it's all put shit in the microwave, and I don't want to do that too often or at all. So I thought what I might do instead is I'll take not one, not two, but 3 different cookbooks and mash together all the instructions for how they would make a goulash. So instead of having just one recipe that's kind of boring, we would have 3 recipes all together. Now, I took these from 3 distinct cookbooks, 2 of which I believe I've put on the channel, and then the 3rd one you'll just see here. So yeah, I took this one, and this one. And we're just gonna sort of like, you know, see what happens. Maybe we can get around the microwave aspect or the lack of a good pan aspect, but this should come together pretty nicely, assuming that the microwave steps don't actually need to be done, because cooking in the microwave's wrong and you should be killed on the spot for doing it. But while I've got your attention here, I was huffing glue behind a chicken treat the other day, and I came across these shiny things here. And if you don't know what these shiny things are, they're called nangs. They're a new drug the kids do these days, and so I was there huffing my paint, and these kids came out of nowhere, cracked out of their mind on fucking nangs, and they sort of just ruined my day. And I was thinking, man, if you're gonna do any drug at all, wouldn't you rather just do a respectable drug? You know, something like heroin or crack. Because if you're gonna ruin your life, you may as well fucking send it all the way. Why do... We both know that the kids are doing them because they're not illegal. Because they're pussies, you could say. And don't really have the mental fortitude to deal with the big boy drugs. Which I guess is probably a good thing, because as we were all taught in primary school, drugs are bad and they can have no positive effects at all. But now we're getting a little off topic, so let's go into the recipe and see what we're going to do. And I'm going to need the cookbooks to find that out. So first, we better start with this super multicultural, complete Australian family cooking book. And as you'll see on screen, our goulash instructions are as follow. We have a bunch of ingredients, and we want to chop and fry them and stick them in the microwave. No, I'm kidding. So as you can see from this recipe, I've got like the beef, the garlic, the white pepper, because we whitewash pepper now. Classic European thing. Whatever that garniers, bacon, onion, salt, whatever the next 3 things are. So it basically says put your onion and your bacon in the fryer. You're going to follow it up with some garlic, then with your meat, then with salt and pepper, then with some stock, and you're going to bring it to the boil. And then you're going to simmer it for an hour. So that's all well and good, but our next recipe book will say... See, our next one will say like a similar thing, except we'll put it in like a casserole, which is what we're going to do, because I think that's just easier to... You know, because you can just ignore a casserole and it will just sort of cook itself. But interestingly enough, from this microwave recipe, it says to, this is excellent to serve with cooked egg noodles. So what I thought we might do is we'll take our trusty rice cooker and we'll just sort of... Because, you know, pasta is effectively rice, so... I know last episode we sort of whiffed the rice cooking aspect, but I think this episode we'll get it correct, maybe. Our final cooking book, the Home Library of Microwave Cooking, which is more like a binder, but a binder's a book. This one's going to be a bit more, it looks like the recipe's for a more grandiose sort of goulash. It's got the word Hungarian in front of it, and that's got to be better than fucking beef or simply normal goulash. And this is this is basically the same shit as everything else. It says a lot of things, of course, but it says cook for 1.5 hours on slow cook. Like, in a slow cooker or in a microwave? Because I'm looking at my microwave, and which you'll see right now, there's no real quote-unquote slow cook button, so I'm not really sure how the fuck that's supposed to work out, but it doesn't really matter because we'll just do it sort of my way. I've got this cool pad of paper which I've written down a recipe, and you know, I've sort of done that that thing from that old show of the power rings, you know, with their powers combined will just make a superior goulash. So with all these things in mind, what our recipe's actually going to become is, we're going to, what are we going to do? Hold on, I know I've got the recipe right in front of me, but I still, because I wrote pan on here, and I don't really want to, I really hate cooking on that fucking stovetop, because it just never works out, but I guess because, you know, this is gonna go on YouTube, I better man the fuck up and just sort of ignore my revulsion to this cooking apparatus. So the recipe's gonna go as follows. So step 1, you're gonna cut your bacon, your onion, and you're gonna put it in a pan. And then you're gonna add garlic, and we're just gonna cook that as is. Now, the other cookbook, one of them says you'd add beef into the pan and salt and pepper. We're not going to do that because I don't really want to use the pan. So what we're going to do is, as that is cooked, we're going to transfer that to a lovely casserole dish where we'll add the beef, add the salt, add the pepper, add tomatoes, add a bit of flour, add paprika, and we'll just stir that shit up, shove her in the oven, and let that do its thing for 2 hours. Because it's just easier to do it that way, and I think that's appropriate for the cooking show. So that'll do its bullshit for like 2 hours. Then once we get to like the half-hour mark, we'll get our thing that sits here, the rice cooker, and we'll put in our pasta, which I still have. The ingredients you will need, which I've kind of spoiled, but fuck it, we always go through this process anyway. You're gonna need 1 onion, 1 paprika, and salt, and pepper. You'll also need bacons and tomatoes, and garlic, of course. The story behind this garlic, and I know you're curious, is that I picked it up from Spudshed, and then I was going to use it for something, but there was no real resistance to me opening it when I got this originally. It just sort of, there was no pop, it just sort of, but here we are, I guess, so we'll use this garlic, regardless if it gives me fucking diarrhea or not. And we'll also need beef, or not beef. You could probably use any fucking meat if you wanted, but, you know, I thought I'd follow the recipe for once. Alrighty, we better get cutting. And luckily, I have this board and chopping knife already left out from cooking dinner last night. How convenient. So we'll cut up our bacon and onion, and we'll put them into a bowl. Fucking hell, Onion, when are you gonna grow up and stop being a fucking cunt? Ugh. I think we'll use about this much bacon. This seems like enough. It's okay putting meat onto your vegetable board. That's all a myth. That shit just doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. So, I was gonna get a pan and put it on the stove, but I don't think I want to anymore. I think I can just all put it into the casserole pot and it'll sort itself out. So what we're gonna do instead, and if I'm not putting it on the stove, I'm gonna have to cook it some other place. Now, you could put it into the microwave, but as I've said before, people who cook things in microwaves just have a mental deficiency, so that smells good. Now that we take our measuring cup of bacon out, we can start assembling this thing in the in the fucking whatever this is called, pot. Ah, shit, we also need stock before I forget. Luckily, and you'll laugh at this, I stocked up before this episode. How funny. But in all seriousness, I was thinking about this quite a bit. Because beef stock is fine. It's not bad, but the stock I would choose, because I think it tastes way better, is chicken stock. So I thought we might add that to our beef goulash, because you know, it's all about taste at the end, isn't it? So what we're going to do is we're going to put our onion bowl, and we're going to... No, we're not. First, we're going to coat the inside of this with a bit of spraying oil. And the reason we do this is because food likes to do this bullshit thing where when you cook it, it sticks to things like pans and pots. So you're gonna have to use some oil to make sure that shit doesn't happen. But now that we have used oil, we'll take our thing of bacon, we'll take our thing of onion, we'll take our garlic, which may or may not kill us. We'll get a decent spoon of it. And then we'll put that back in the fridge so I can ignore it for the remainder of my stay here. We're gonna take this butter that I just saw from within the fridge and we're gonna add a chunk of that into there. But before I get even further ahead of myself, because tummy is rumbling and I am hungry, before I give in to my hunger, we better chop these tomatoes up. And luckily, serrated knife is perfect. I cannot stress how easy it is to cut tomato with serrated knife. Oh, right, you want to know what I'm doing. So you see these little stalk, stem, whatever the fuck you call this thing on the top of the tomato? You dig in your knife at a, what's that, a 45-degree angle, and you sort of just, I don't know, cut the thing out in a cone, and then you don't get this bit in your food. Some people like to do that. I don't personally. Alright, we're gonna take our meat out of our trough. Cut it open. There you go. That is not even slightly defrosted. Not because I forgot about it, but because it's a cunt. Next, of course, we'll break our container. And we'll take a bit of butter and, I don't know, on here it's cut into 50 grams, so I guess 50 grams. Next, we're going to take our paprika, and we have opened this. Good. Very good. Because in my opinion, too much spice is the correct amount. Pepper next. Salt after pepper. And lastly, of course, our stock. Alright. So as... I'm not going to do that because that's not smart. What I'm going to do is make you come over here. Alright. As we can see, butter, paprika, spices, meat. There's some tomato in the corner and some onion. The bacon's all underneath. So what we're going to do now is, we'll turn on our oven, which we should have done fucking ages ago. So while that heats up, I'm just going to turn this off, and I'll wake you up when we're beyond the current step. So I actually didn't really get around to doing the pasta. I did do it post this episode of the cooking show, but it didn't turn out well. As you might understand, a rice cooker only really cooks rice. The pasta sort of came out a bit, the pasta came out half cooked, half uncooked, and it was just feral. So yeah, rice cooker, it can't cook soup, can't cook pasta, can only really cook rice. And that is how you make goulash. Normally on the cooking show we wouldn't make such tasty or appetizing food, and not nearly as good tasting as this goulash. Normally we would just sort of, we wouldn't throw it out because that would be wrong, but what we would do is I'd just leave it outside and the birds would normally take care of it. You'll see what I mean after this. Fuck me, that's good. So yeah, there was two things I learned on a farm, and one of those was that farming sucks dick because you're so reliant on the weather and, you know, God's a cunt sometimes. The second thing I learned was that you can just sort of throw all your scraps into the garden and birds will eat it. So that's what you should do.